Hey guys, in this video, I want to address some issues in the course before moving to the later chapters, and I'm making this video after progress on the section 5 of the course. So the project will look different before and after this video. We will address some issues with the previous lectures, starting with the character's step offset. So if I click on my player character, and here on my character controller, I have the step offset property. I said in a previous lecture that in order to prevent the character from climbing on objects, we need to set the step offset to 0. But in fact, Unity, and especially in later versions, right now I'm using version 6.3, but the rest of the project will continue in version 6.0. So Unity will throw you an error on the console. You'll have an error saying that step offset needs to be positive or something like that. In the beginning of the course, I wanted the player to not be able to climb on these small obstacles, for example, on these bricks or on this pillar, or even on these boundary walls, because if they could climb on there, they could fall and it would simply break the game. But there are better ways to do it. So a better value here would be something close to 0.3. This is the height of the step that your character can climb. And this is great. For example, if you have stairs in your game, then your character should be able to climb on them. As for these walls, if you don't want the character to climb on them, then you can simply edit the collider on these objects. For example, here, if I click here on Edit Collider, I can click here and drag, and this will make the collider higher. So indeed, if you make the collider at least greater than the size of the step offset, then the character will not be able to step over it. And with a size like this, the character cannot jump over it either. So this is a great solution to create invisible walls around your map or around areas where you don't want the player to get access to. Okay, now let's talk about the player input component. So the player input component, a lot of you guys have been asking about this warning message. You get a warning like this saying that project-wide actions is not recommended to be used with player input because it is a singleton reference and all of that. So what this actually means is that here we have our actions. This is where we bind our inputs to actions that are meaningful to our gameplay. So if we open the project settings by going to Edit, Project Settings, then go into Input System Package, here we have our actions. So we can give them meaningful names like attack, interact, crouch, and these actions are bound to keyboard inputs, to gamepad inputs. For example, the attack action here is bound to buttons on the gamepad, on the mouse, on touch screen, and so on. And of course, on the keyboard as well. Now, if we provide these input actions to the player input component, what will happen is the player input component will create its own copy of these actions, and this makes rebinding the actions pointless, because if we modify this input action map, then we're only modifying the copy that player input has. We're not actually modifying the action map on the project. And this is important later on in your game if you're implementing a window or a screen where you give the player the option to change the controls. You may change the controls on the project-wide actions, but actually the player input will have already created its own copy and will use it. So when you rebind these actions, it's going to be pointless. It's not going to have any effect. And honestly, this is the only case where you'll need to worry about this warning message. The player input component has some quirks. So for example, if you have the default map here, in some versions of Unity, the other maps will be deactivated. In some other versions, all the action maps will be active. So it's a little bit tricky to work with. There are far better ways to do it. And after the lecture on player input, I have a link to a YouTube video that I made that goes deep into the input system in Unity. And in my recent projects, I no longer use the player input component just because it's so tedious to work with. Yeah, the player input component is not the only way to handle input in Unity, but it is convenient. Here, if we set the behavior to invoke Unity events, we can go here and have all our events and bind them like we did. So this is great if you don't want to write code. You can directly use these events here. What I would suggest if you want to use player input is on your input actions, try to put all your actions in the same action map. So depending on the versions of Unity, I've tested a few versions, and some versions you had all the action maps and all the actions inside of them available to you. In some other versions of Unity, it wasn't the case. So I myself, I'm a little bit confused by that. But in any case, if you don't use the player input class, there are a lot of ways, and perhaps you'll find them much simpler to use. And as I said, it's all documented in my video, and it's all documented in the Unity documentation itself. If you type Unity input system on Google, you'll find the link to the manual. So here you have the documentation of the input system in Unity. You have a lot of ways to use the input system, and perhaps my favorite way to use it is using an input action reference. So for example, here I have a script called Player Interaction Controller. If we open it, here I have a field input action reference. And to use this, you need to import unityengine.input-system. So if you have this, you can subscribe to interact-action.action.performed or in an update method. So here let's add an update method. Here in the update method, we can say if interact-action.action was pressed this frame. So this will give us the information whether this action has been pressed. For example, if we bind it to the space key, it's the same as saying if the space key was pressed this frame. And here you can define as many input action references as you want. And going back to Unity, we get this nice inspector. So we have here our interact action, and by clicking on this circle, you can actually define what this action reference points to. So it needs to point to an actual action. And here we have all the actions in our project. So here we have the project-wide actions. And if you have more action maps in your project, you'll get them here as tabs. So here I can bind my action here to any action in my project. For example, player/attack, player/interact, player/move, pet, previous sprint, and so on. And honestly, this has become my favorite way to use the input system. And in this case, we don't need the player input component anymore. So if we have this, we can simply remove the player input component completely, but it's still useful if you want something quick. So it's up to you if you want to use it. And some of you have asked about the code editor that I'm using. I'm using Visual Studio. This is not to be confused with Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is a text editor. This is an IDE, and there is a difference. An IDE has a compiler and is much more advanced than a simple text editor. You could turn Visual Studio Code into an IDE by installing some plugins or something, but I just find Visual Studio a more complete application. You have this Solution Explorer here. You have a lot more features, and it is dedicated to C# development, unlike Visual Studio Code, with which you can develop in other programming languages, in Python and all that stuff. So here we have a compiler on board. You can go to build, then build your solution, and if you have errors, it will tell you what errors you have. This is just to clear the confusion, because some people have asked me about some menus that they don't find, but it turns out they're using Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio. And by the way, this is the 2022 version. Okay, let's go to About Microsoft Visual Studio. This is the 2022 version, Community Edition. And here in Unity, if we go to Edit Preferences, we can go to External Tools. And here you can specify the external script editor that you want to use. For example, I'm using here Visual Studio 2022, and I also have Visual Studio Code installed. So if I choose this, then every time I double click on a script, the script would open in Visual Studio Code. And one last thing is that in later sections, I accompany each lecture with a Unity package of the source code of the project. A lot of people have been asking for the source files in order to follow along. If you're watching the course on YouTube, then you have to head to our Discord server. So here, after you download a Unity package, you can go to Unity, then go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. And here you need to navigate to your package, then download it. And in the later lectures, I'm organizing all the files under the Unity Crash Course folder. So if you want a clean install of the files, you can go ahead, right click here, then delete the folder and import the new Unity package. That way you'll have the latest files in the project, because I may delete some files, and if you don't delete the folder that you already have, you may have some files that or some scripts that are meant to be deleted but are not. So it's best to remove everything and import the new files. So if I could leave you with one advice, is to simply keep going, because a lot of issues that you may encounter are pretty much solved later on in the course. So try to keep going as much as possible. And if you're really stuck, then feel free to post a question. On Udemy, we have the Q&A section. On YouTube, we have comments, and you also have access to my Discord server. So don't hesitate to ask questions. It would be a shame if you stopped before seeing the true potential that you have. And I started posting, so this is my YouTube channel. I started posting some student spotlight videos, and here, for example, I have a game by Robert, and I also have other students working on their builds, and they're going to send them to me soon in order to review and eventually make a similar video. On Udemy, I put this video in the first section. So here you have the student spotlight. You can watch what other students have made, and who knows, maybe your game will be among this list. And if you send me a build of the game, then I can have it here as a student spotlight. And by the way, I also received this question about building a game. Usually you'd go here to File, Build Profiles, and here you have the scenes in your project. So here, if I open my scenes list, so this is a different project where I'm testing stuff before making the videos. So here I can add scenes. So if I add my open scene here, so we're already doing this in the course, but this is very important because these are the scenes that are going to be exported in your build. And the way Unity works is in every scene, Unity will look at all the objects that you have here and all the attached scripts, images, meshes, and all of that data. And the build will only contain the items that you are currently using in the scene. So here, if we go, I only have the Windows platform build tools. Of course, you can install the other platforms in your Unity hub or when installing a new Unity version. All right, so here you can set the build parameters. I mean, I usually keep these at their default values. Perhaps I change the compression method. So if you change it to something like LZ4 or LZ4HC, it can compress your images, your textures, and your meshes better in order to have a smaller file size. And then you click on build, then you choose a folder on your desktop and you can build the game and it will generate an executable file. So that file, you can send that folder with that .exe file. You can send it to friends. You can even post it on itch.io, on Steam, and people will be able to play your game without having to open it or without having to open the project in Unity. So I believe that's quite obvious for a lot of you guys, but some of you may not understand how it works. And the great thing about the scenes list here is you can have a lot of assets in your project here. We can have gigabytes of sound effects. You can have gigabytes of all sorts of models and textures. But when you actually build your game, only the assets that you're currently using in your scenes are going to be included in the build. So my project could weigh like 20 gigabytes, but my build could be 80 megabytes. So it's important to know this. The size of the build is not exactly equal to the size of your Unity project. So I guess that's it. I tried covering a lot of questions that you may have about the current lectures and the future ones. So try as much as possible to stick to the course and soon you'll reach this level. So here we have a lot of interesting things. We have these traps and we have these collectibles that you can collect. In fact, let's run the game here. So now I'm experimenting with the next section about interactions with doors, with treasure chests. So here I'm going to give you a small demonstration of what's coming. All right. So here we have a health system. We have all these collectible items. So I can collect a key. And if I can't collect a heart, I can push it aside. I can roll. I have a stamina bar. I can sprint, and if I sprint too much, I get these screen effects, right? So a lot of stuff is going to be implemented soon, and I'm kind of time traveling here because I'm shooting this video after section 5 and before section 6 about interactions. So this is what interactions will look like. So the chest here is requiring a red key in order to open it. And now that I have it, the interface will say press E to open. So if I press E, then I get a diamond with this nice little cutscene here. And here on the interface, you can see that I have a diamond. All right, so everything that you see here, we are going to make it step by step, little by little, by doing one thing at a time, lecture after lecture. So hold on. If you're not sure, as I said, if you're not sure about something, if you are confused about something, then please let me know. As someone who has been using Unity for more than 10 years, I can be a little bit blind to the issues that you may encounter as a beginner. So if you are not sure about something, it would actually help other people, because if you mention it, I will pay attention to that and make changes to the course, like this video that you're currently seeing. So it will be helpful not only for you, but for other students as well. All right. So keep watching the course, keep going and keep learning. And I promise you, it will be all worth it at the end. All right. Thank you for watching. Let's get started with section 2 after this video. All right. See you then.